All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode of our Leverage podcast. Today, I got introduced through actually social media, right? Social media is the jam and how you get connected to a lot of business owners. So I was wrapping it up a little bit with Zach Montgomery this morning. So Zach, tell us, our audience, a little bit about who you are and how you make money.
Yeah, well, glad to be here. Thank you for having me. And yet another win for Facebook and getting us connected. So so I'm Zach Montgomery. I'm an attorney and CPA and fraud examiner, and also an adjunct professor. So a lot of different hats that I wear, but really try and bring all those disciplines together for the benefit of the people I interact with on the daily. So I run my own law firm called Montgomery Legal, and really that kind of focuses on three main buckets of services, if you will. So that's business services, estate planning services, and tax services. So the little marketing thing I've been doing now is the easy way to remember that is bet on Montgomery Legal. So there's the three services, BET. And so that's really just working with and alongside individuals, but particularly business owners, entrepreneurs, and all the things they face. And so, kind of forming, structuring, a company and getting it started, operational concerns, as they arise, and contracts and all that, but also thinking of the future of maybe getting out or expanding. So, M&A type work or, succession planning. And then that conversation is usually happening alongside the tax conversations of, hey, how can we make this more strategic and pay less taxes is what I usually hear as a gripe. My CPA is too reactive. I want to be proactive in my planning. Like, great, let's sit down and look at everything and make this more, tax efficient. And then on the kind of the looking towards the future, and hopefully the very distant future is the estate planning component, and just kind of working through all those different components because we just don't know what life can bring at any moment, and I always want my clients to be most prepared and have the right tools in the toolkit when things arise, which kind of like flows into what I teach, which is estate planning, and teach it more than one university starting this fall. So
Keep you busy.
That's right. I stay busy.
Well, and what I liked about we talked about earlier, right, is you try to bring as much under one roof as possible. That remains expertise, right, level. And so, a lot of times what we see in those various professions, whether it's financial planner to CPA or lawyer to financial planner to CPA, like to estate planner, sometimes there's a disconnect, right? Just because you have a couple of hands in the pot, right? The lawyer's giving this advice, the financial planner is like, really, is that the right advice, right? And it's like, well, this is my lane, and it can get a little bit messy, right? So tell the audience a little bit, like obviously you have the BET kind of methodology there. So what are the pros and the cons, right? Or let's just focus on the pros, right? Like what are services are you providing as a pro, right, that your competitors are not doing? What makes you different in that area?
Yeah, so it's probably easier to address it based on like the type of client that's coming in and what they, I would say, like think they're looking for initially. Tax services, for example, somebody's just trying to find a new CPA because their current one, retired or doesn't communicate well or anything like that. They're coming in and just kind of having that one track mindset and just, I need somebody to prepare my return or something. And that's maybe the starting point of the conversation, but I definitely expand it from there. So, and I'll admit some may be a little intimidated. Oh, I just wanted a CPA. I don't need an attorney. Like I'm not in trouble or anything. Like, well, nobody said you were, but like, let's like get everything organized. Let's look through everything and start executing because a CPA, and it's the gripe I typically hear is reactive, especially on the tax side, is reactive, just taking what happened in the prior year and reporting it. And my approach is no, well, we need to do that, just to stay compliant. But let's also start looking towards the future, make adjustments if we need to reorganize the company and make it more tax efficient, or let's say hire your kids as part of the business and set up those employment agreements or whatever, then I can do that next step rather than saying, here, let me just give you the framework and then go talk to this guy over here to actually do it. Now we can strategize, plan together, and then execute all in one place. And so it's way more efficient for my clients and just removes barriers. That's one of the biggest things I focus on. And that's especially true in the estate planning context. It's hard to get people to the table once to address something where they're face to face with, their mortality and trying to organize what will happen. And so, and I tell my students all the time in the classroom, it's like, remove the barriers, make it as easy as possible. Because if you don't do the proper planning, it just leads to more heartache and tension in the family and all those things. A big part of it is just trying to be efficient, but remove barriers for my clients and make it as seamless as possible to get good service.
Yeah, absolutely. Where do you see the biggest gap for people coming in that could have prevented it? Like, let's just focus on, I can go across the spectrum with the disciplines that you have, but let's just go like estate planning, right? Waiting too late in the game to get their assets right allocated. Somebody's on their deathbed and now it becomes a chaotic push to the end. Maybe give some examples of that and how people should or why people should be engaging faster.
Yeah, I think in my career, I've had one situation where the person who ended up passing away got all their documents brought to them in the hospital bed in the morning and then died that afternoon. And I think many people, if we're honest with ourselves, kind of lie. We lie to ourselves that it's probably going to work out that way. Like, I'm just going to put it off until the last minute and it'll be okay. And again, that was one instance in my entire career. So that is not how it typically works.
It doesn't just happen overnight, right? I think that's the part people don't understand either. And their mind says, oh, I can get it done. No, that's not how it works.
Yes. Yeah. So it's people need to address it as early as possible. I mean, I get many calls. It seems like in the last few months, especially, where adult children are asking, hey, can you put together a power of attorney or, this document for my mom or dad? And of course, my next question is, where is your mom and dad? They have dementia or they're not cognizant anymore. Exactly. They're legally incapacitated. And I'm like, well, that's not exactly how those documents work. You don't force it upon somebody, and you're not the one that's giving the power. It would be them. And so, that there's another element and really a misconception of estate planning that I think most people think, oh, that's just what happens, or the documents I have to deal with my stuff when I die. And actually, so much of estate planning is what's happening while you're still living. And so just trying to change the narrative and framework. I love doing educational type things with the community and stuff, just to dispel really misinformation that's out there, with respect to that particular discipline, to get people to the table. Because I mean, on the first day of class, when I teach this, I always put all over the board just reasons why people don't want to touch this area, and you fill up the board. People will have all sorts of reasons, but that shouldn't stop us, because my easiest clients are the ones who have just gone through the process from a parent or a family member who didn't have planning, and they're like, I never want to do that again. I don't want this for my family.
Yeah, it's so crazy because I hear that story so many times, right? And you're right. The people that had to go through that, they become the ones that are staunch advocates suddenly of the process, because they're like, that was horrible.
Yes, absolutely.
What's kind of a biggest breakthrough throughout your career, throughout your journey as a business owner that's kind of giving you the biggest trajectory, right, of growth? Like what decision did you make? What process did you follow? Like what'd you learn? Just something that kind of gave you a breakthrough trajectory.
I think going out on my own really allowed me to refocus priority. And it seems counterintuitive, but by leaning into relationships and just spending time with people in the community and grabbing coffee or grabbing breakfast or lunch or whatever, and just learning about other people, what they do, sure, getting into networking groups and that sort of thing. None of that was generating revenue, and especially in the beginning. And yet, now years later, because of the intentionality with relationships, that has been so instrumental in my ability to continue and grow and the success of the firm. And because I mean, you pour into people, in some way, it will, pay back dividends. And I don't even approach that sounds even transactional. And I don't approach relationships that way of like, what can you do for me? What can you give me? But it's just, I mean, it's an extension of my faith. I mean, you just do what is right and serve people well. And God's got the rest. So, and that is borne out. I mean, that's exactly how it's been over the last several years. Is I think, there's something to getting good experience and acquiring knowledge and growing in whatever discipline you're in, which is all needed. But if you're missing that relationship piece, then it's, all for what? And so, I felt like in previous firms, I was just working around the clock, and obviously you have a boss in that situation, and nothing against the boss. I mean, that's part of the framework, and you need to get those reps in. But I think because of that, the relational side is less on the importance board. And so that was something when I went on my own, I was like, I got to meet people. I want to see people. I want to talk to people, what they're going through. And it is certainly, I would say, radically changed how I've just approached business. So.
Yeah, I love that. It's always about, like, it's cliche how you treat people and all that, but that circle grows, right? And you go from business owner circles to referrals with clients to clients referring you other business. It's like a full circle moment, right? Where when you just genuinely connect with people and you're good people, and you're never going to connect with everybody. I mean, that's not a reality, but you will continue to grow that inner circle, and that inner circle that just gives to one another just becomes abundant mindset, and they just abundantly, with no expectations in return, right? It's almost like a church offering, right? You throw the money in the offering with no expectations, and you're doing it on faith, right? So I appreciate that. What gives you the most leverage in your business today, right? Is it software? Is it people? Is it education? Or where are you getting that leverage from?
Oh gosh, I don't know that it's one particular thing. Yeah, a lot of those are certainly relevant. Maybe not so much the AI. There's a love-hate relationship, I think many of us have with that. I seem to run into issues with clients with AI more than that. But I can come back to that. But
you come from a different lens on that for sure, based on your industry.
So I guess to spin that positively, I mean, certainly the relationships has been a key aspect, and just, I mean, so much of it, I think, to be an entrepreneur in general, I mean, requires a certain degree of faith. And so, I mean, for me, that is, I wanted to be faith forward in my own firm. Not to say I've ever hidden who I truly was or something like that. But that I wanted it to be clear, where I stand. And that's not to cram it down clients' throats or anything like that. It's to make sure they know where I stand and, the morality and ethics and everything I bring to the table, and that I have their best interests at heart and would serve them no differently than my own family.
Mhm.
So certainly leverage that, and that has kept me grounded, especially when business can be all over the map. And hey, we're having a good month, we're having a bad month. It's like, well, the faith part is just consistent throughout. So that's been great, and really just leaning on my community and through that. But yeah, certainly my faith would be number one. I mean, my uh, is it right to say I leverage my wife? She's been extremely supportive through all of this. I mean, she kind of jokes, and maybe there's some truth in the joke. Like you had to become a firm owner and do all this process after got married and after we started having
Right.
kids. And I was like, hey, yeah, what? Yeah, sorry.
I had to lock you down first before I went off and just worked 12-hour days.
Yeah. Which is just to say, like, you don't know what life may throw at you. I didn't anticipate doing this, but here we are, and I'm loving it. So
It's so huge that you have the support, right, of those people around you. It's massively impactful, because I see it all the time in business owners where the other spouse is not in agreement, right, and not in alignment with that business owner. So it just creates a lot of animosity, a lot of chirping, a lot of arguing, because there's just not a support mechanism there. So everything becomes a rubbing point, right? You work 12 hours today, when are you ever going to come home? Whereas when they're in
right.
alignment, they're like, hey, I understand this is a short-term grind until we get this thing off and running. So I always appreciated the spouses and the families that obviously said, we're together on this, let's go.
Yeah.
What's a lesson that you've learned the hard way?
Get the money first. Uh, yeah, I mean, I used to like maybe budge a little bit more with kind of new client engagements and that sort of thing. Because especially when you're getting going, it's just like,
Yeah.
man, whatever fruit I can get from the tree, like let's just grab it. And so you may compromise in certain situations, which as you're more established, is like, nope, we're not doing that anymore. I mean, so I do pretty much exclusively operate off retainer now with any of my clients, even the ones I'm like, I have no worries about. You pay them for my services. But yeah, I mean, just that was what, 2 years ago or something like that. Just
Sure.
you're staring at a pretty big bag that I'm holding still, and it's frustrating, and definitely gives a lot more reality and meaning. Once you have providing for wife and kids, that
Mm-hmm.
hey, that is actually food on my table that you stripped away and frankly stolen services. So yeah, I'm just a lot more locked down on that now, and just to make that clear up front, just to avoid that situation. And I guess at the end of the day, I mean, while I can gripe and complain about what a person did or did not do, I mean, I ultimately had the power to stop that,
Correct. Yeah.
from the beginning. And so I've adjusted accordingly. So
And I tell people that's all part of that business owner learning, maturation and growth too. Everybody has to go through that, right? Like all business you think is business you need, and maybe it is when you first start up. However, you also know that some of that business you needed, and it taught you some good lessons such that it'll never
Mhm.
happen again. But you
Right.
look at that in a positive light, right? It's like, hey, I had to do what I had to do to get the business started. I took more risks right on the front end just to generate opportunities, knowing that it could backfire. But also I learned, right, what I wouldn't do and compromise or allow and accept as I got more established, kind of, exactly to your point.
Right.
What are you paying attention? What trends are you paying attention to right now? And that's a pretty wide open question, right? Could come from the legal field, could come from the estate planning field, wherever you want to go with that.
Yeah, I mean, I may answer that question by circling back to AI. I feel like many of us are, paying attention to what's going on, how that's being utilized. I am minimally involved with AI as far as implementation on my side of service providing. But I continue to see just different trends in how it's being utilized by clients or prospective clients, and honestly, it comes out more harmful than good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, I mean, when you look at it in the estate planning context, I mean, well, first of all, I feel like most attorneys, especially now, are having to deal with initial consultations and meetings where they're deconstructing everything that is being brought to them initially before we can even get to the real consultation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody thinks they're a PhD in every discipline now, solely because they went to Copilot or Grok or whatever, and then come to find out, hey, the information you received is actually wrong, even though it came from an AI platform. And people just don't know what they don't know. In the estate planning context, I've run into it where they'll just, I need a will, and just type in a few different things, and what's spit out, is okay in some, very primitive way. And then they didn't execute it correctly. And then the person dies. And they're like, hey, can you help us with it? It's like, well, yes, I can. We can work through this. But you made this a lot more difficult, and you could have saved yourself a lot of heartache and time and expense and everything that you thought you were saving by doing this, by talking to a professional. And I'm sure every discipline out there can give those same type of stories. But it's particularly frustrating for me, especially in that estate planning context, because I love kind of getting down in the muck, with families to help harmonize things, to help them through distribution of an estate among, family members, to, deal with the grieving process of death. I mean, it's all so interrelated. It's serious. It's real life. And to treat that in such a way that, I'll just have this AI, spit something out. That's really a piece where I try and educate people more on. It's like, no, this is not anywhere near what people truly need. And people need to, have somebody walk alongside them, because it is so relational, and AI can't ever replace that. I don't care what is said out there. The human contact, the human perspective, the human relational aspects of what I do cannot be replaced.
Correct. AI can't sense how somebody feels, right? AI can't sense the human emotion, right? And so there's always that value, especially in client relations and things of that nature. But the reason I like AI personally in this world is not because it's my final decision maker, but it helps me gather the necessary thought process, the necessary framework, asking the right questions. And this is just my interpretation of how I use it, such that when I go sit with my attorney, I can expedite the process. I don't say I finalize the process on AI. I finalize that through my representation, but I can at least come in looking knowledgeable and educated on what I've done on my research, and I can go. And then that way the attorney can be like, all right, this is obviously well thought out. However, we need to change 4 things instead of let's start from scratch and go through your life history and document it all. And it's going to take 7 days.
Right. Well, that's a better approach. I mean, yeah, so you'll have a spectrum of how people are utilizing it, or, and they are good. I don't want to naysay it completely, because, even on the financial and tax side, to the extent you feel comfortable throwing actual numbers in there, because of, privacy concerns and privilege concerns and those sorts of things. One of the good things is just the efficiency and being able to run calculations, or, those sorts of things. That's great. And that can be extremely helpful and time saving. But some of the more, I would say, personal aspects of the service is just
Yeah.
just can't be replaced.
Yeah, I agree. And it's like, I would never like, hey, I've written the contract. Can you review the contract on the estate planning? I'm more like, build me an outline in my tool that would get that kind of, and even if I didn't want to put personal information in there, at least give me a fill in the blank PDF in some capacity that I could write the personal stuff in there. But again, when you, especially as you get into a more 7-figure, 8-figure, 9-figure wealth position, right? You have a lot more complications in your assets and distributions and how all that's going to get put out. You know, again, it's a balance between privacy, as you alluded to, and how much you're going to feed the internet gods of your data. But it does, I will say, you know, helps at least collectively keep your information in a constant position of, hey, I made this tweak, I made this change, I added 2% to this bucket, I moved some wealth over here. You know what I mean? And now I can just go, print me my report. It's like, right. The last 30 days, you made 42 different moves in all of your assets and accounts. Here they are.
Yeah.
All right. I want to move into the lightning round for us. So these are just one statement type answers. Favorite business book from your world?
Giftology.
All right. Love it. That's a good one. I hadn't heard that one yet. That's actually a really good one. Best purchase over 10 grand.
I guess most recently would be a truck.
All right. All right. You know, if I were to have your phone and I were to open the app that is the most used, what app would that be?
Probably Outlook. Always
I always know my legal and my CPA and my like corporate guys. They're always like Outlook, Gmail, calendar.
Part of the game. Yep.
Exactly. No knock. It's just something I see. What's your most impactful habit?
Probably. Oh, that's a good one. Probably two things come to mind: reading my Bible, but also getting to say goodnight to each of the kids at night.
I love that. Love that. I haven't had that one yet. That's an awesome one. If you could track only one KPI or one performance indicator in your business or number, what would that be?
Probably just clients served, number of people served. Yeah.
What's one thing that you would never delegate?
Ooh. Gosh, I think just kind of managing the direction of the firm and just kind of the principles it's based on. Yeah.
Yeah, the overall visionary aspect of it. Yep. The overall collective pulling it together. All right, last question I have for you. If we had a dictionary that was written by Zach Montgomery, how would he define leverage? How would your answer be to the definition of leverage?
So this is a funnier question than you even know or realize, because I teach a class. Well, I teach many classes. I also teach at my church. And one of the things many people know about me is that I actually hate dictionaries because they're so evasive in providing a definition. You know, you define a word by look up this other word and then look up another word. And so it's just a rabbit hole. So probably if it is my dictionary, it doesn't exist.
It doesn't have a definition.
Yeah. But to try and answer that question, leveraged, I would say just positioning yourself and the people and kind of tools around you to best succeed and personal success, sure, but also help those succeed around you.
Yeah, love that. All right, if anybody wanted to reach out to you, contact you for services around the business entities or around the taxes, the estate planning, what's the best way for them to do that?
Probably just email. And I'm always on it and get back to people. I pride myself on being efficient there. So that's Zachary, ZACHARY at mlegaltx.com.
All right, that's perfect. And as he said, he's always in his Outlook on his phone, so hit him up on his email.
That's right.
Also, to all of our guests, you all know that I keep a Rolodex of all of this. I'm considered kind of the glue that keeps a large network, right? So I'm a connector. I guess that's the language I'm looking for, guys, is the connector, right? A lot of people see me as a connector and have the resources to reach out to me to find people. So Zach, you're one of those guys. Appreciate that. We will include you obviously in our overall network. And as people reach out for those services, we'll absolutely connect them with you and give you the first opportunity, right, to make a business relationship with them. So to our audience, thanks again for showing up to another episode. We look forward to continuing to meet with more and more business owners, learning about their use of leverage and just about their businesses in general. So last episode out. We'll see you later. Have a great day. And Zach, thank you so much for joining with us.
Thank you. Appreciate it.